Hello, I'm Keitron Evans, and I'm going to show you pivoting and proxy chains and how we use pivoting with proxy chains to basically evade and give us a way to make it hard to track what we were doing. Now, this is going to be reflective of the MITRE ATT&CK frameworks T1200 and T1199 that deals with those areas. So let's go ahead and start up with the lab, and we will see where we get to with this. Part of the reason that proxying is necessary is if someone's looking through log files or something like that, you don't want them to be able to see exactly where it is you're coming from. And being able to set up proxy chains is a great way for you to actually be able to do that. So let's look at an example of how we do it. In this lab, we're going to first start off by opening a terminal here. And I'll just make it a little bit bigger just in case the screen's a little hard for you all to see. It's perfect for me, but I want to make sure it's good for the for video screens. So we're going to go ahead and do this first command. We're just going to make a directory lab there, and then we're going to Nmap scan pivot. Now keep in mind, pivot's just a device that we've created a record for, DNS record for, and it goes to a specific IP, and we're just shortening it here by allowing you to scan pivot without having to type out an IP address. So we do that scan. As you can see, the range tells us we completed that step. So we're verifying here that there is an SSH service there. As we can see that port 22 is open. All right. So we move on to the next step. We're going to actually scan a target. So in the previous session, we saw the SSH server. Now we're going to actually connect to it. It gives us the username, root, and the password tour here. So I'm going to run the SSH command to SSH to that device. And I'm going to answer yes to the question and then enter the password tour, T-O-O-R. All right, that SSHs me in. So one of the things that is really good about this is you can see the host name right here. We're connected to this, we're on this IP, and you've changed to another device because if you look at the prompt down here now, you've SSH'd into another device. So for the people that are new, it's important for them to have that visual there so they can see that they're now connected to another device. So this is one of the nice touches that we put in here to make sure that we visibly show the learner that they're actually connected to something else in this step here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to scan the target here. All right. Now, the target is the machine that we actually just SSH from, and all we're doing at this point is proving that we can reach that machine from the one we just SSH'd into. So we run that command, we see that it scans and says, yep, we got some ports open, we're able to reach that machine, and it gives us the green check to let us know that we completed that step as well. All right? So we move on. Now we get to the meat of this here, which is setting up the actual proxy chains. So it says, while we could interact with the target web server through SSH or wget or curl or some of the other command line tools, that's cumbersome and it's not really good when you're having to do a lot of work doing this stuff. When the volume gets up, that becomes not practical. So it says we're going to set up proxy chains to proxy our connections through the proxy server. And the first step will be to set up a port forward using SSH. Now, here's another key thing, and this is where we did a great job of spelling it out. It says, run this from your Kali machine, not through the SSH connection you made in the previous step, which is where we are now. So what this tells the learner is that, okay, we need to open another terminal so that we're on our actual Kali machine and not the machine that we just connected to. So it actually sets it up to where it's really hard for you to misinterpret or mess up the steps here. We tried to make it very friendly for every level of learning, even though this is advanced tactics. So what we do now is we're going to run this SSH command in, again, our new terminal here. All right, and it tells us that the password is tour. And we do that and we enter the password tour, and we're done with that step. And this basically will forward any request to port 9050 on the local host to the proxy server with that connection set up. Proxy chains can also be configured, which means all the traffic will now that's destined to that port will go out through that proxy. And this is how you set up your basic evasion. Now in this step, it says configuring the proxy chains. Basically what we're doing here is you're just verifying. It says open up in a text editor of your choice. You're verifying that this is actually there. So I'm just going to use nano to open that Proxychains file and just verify that towards the bottom, as it says, that socks string is already put there. And as we see at the very bottom, it is, and the port is right. It's the 9050 port. So everything actually lines up there. So I can get out of nano and we're good to move on to the next step. As you can see, we got our green check mark there. So now we're actually gonna Nmap scan using the proxy chain. And we do that just by invoking it with the proxy chain command here. So it says, now that the proxy chain is configured, let's test it out with Nmap. It can only proxy certain types of packets. In other words, you're not proxying all your traffic. It's just traffic that meets that criteria. Now in this case, it says we're going to instruct Nmap to avoid pings. That's where the PN is. And then we're only going to do a TCP connect scan with the ST flag there. Okay. So we go ahead and take this command, and I want to show you something that's really important. So we run this from here. And what you see is it actually went out and connected, and we can see that traffic in the terminal here, and it shows that we're actually going through our proxy. So what this ensures for you, and you could, set up some practice parameters in your own environment or in this environment as you get into it. Some things that I would recommend you explore is setting up another listener on the other side, Wireshark, TCP dump, or something like that, and then noticing where these connections are actually coming from. And if you go and subscribe or go and get yourself into this range, even on a practice level, that's some of the things that you can explore and just kind of go crazy with all the different possibilities of what you can test here with these proxy chains. You don't have to ask questions or try to read up on what does my traffic look like if I go through a proxy chain and someone's actually watching that. You can show yourself. And that's one of the brilliant things and the great things about this new range is that you can actually do that. All right, so I'm going to stop it right there, but I encourage you to actually jump into this range specifically with these advanced adversary tactics labs and practice and prove to yourself that you can do this and you can grasp it, and it will be rewarding for you to see what you're able to accomplish in a relatively short amount of time. Thank you for watching, and if you want to do exercises just like what I just showed you on your own and practice and get good with it and see how these all map to the MITRE ATT&CK framework, then head on over to infosecinstitute.com/range and practice with it and set up an account, and you can do exactly what you just saw me do. Thanks for watching.